Two middle-aged men in Cleveland. 125 is the episode. Ken Dworsnik, Ted Klopp. Ted's been a bit since we've talked. We've not had the opportunity to talk as much in between shows. You've been super busy.
Running around.
I've been doing a bunch of different things. We'll get into that at some point in time. But certainly wanted to catch up with you. Gosh, you know, the weather has been absolutely beautiful. It really has. I think we have extended summer to an extent. We've had some really nice days, even today as we record this on Tuesday. I mean, I'm at like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
We're in the nice sunny skies of Medina, Ohio. So one of your favorite places.
Oh, one of my absolute favorite places. Yeah. Yeah. It's warm. Well, it's warmer up here as well. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm in the South. We're usually warmer. Like Cincinnati, it's like 10 to 15 degrees warmer there than it usually is here. So in Medina, it'll be about 5 to 6 degrees, closer to the equator.
They don't know what snow is.
No, they don't. Ice they do though. They get a lot of ice. That's not fun.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not fun. Well, we're not trying to talk a bunch of sports, but it's hard not to talk about what happened on Sunday. Did you have the opportunity to see the game?
I saw a little, and you can probably guess why.
Yeah, you probably had some hockey, maybe.
Hockey. Oh, yeah. A lot of hockey. But I saw a little bit of it. I did not see the winning kick, but was informed of it and then announced it to the folks who were watching the game that I was announcing for. So, yeah.
Double duty.
Yeah.
Look at you. Double duty. You were announcing the hockey game, correct? Then?
Yes,
PA
announcing. Yes.
Look at you.
Absolutely.
How was your vocals for the PA announcing? I know you used to do some work for Ashland University and Padua Franciscan High School. You back in the mix?
Oh yeah.
Do you have a goal call, or do you go goal, or what do you got?
No, I have actually. I have when there's a goal, I have the horn.
Oh,
I have a program, and it's a touch screen, and so I have the goal horn. And then I have some music. And then right now I have 3 options on how to end that. One is the Ric Flair woo.
Oh, I like that.
The second is Austin Powers saying, "Yeah, baby, yeah." And then the third, which I use every so often, is what is he, a French soccer announcer, an Italian soccer announcer? And he just goes, "Goal!"
I love it.
And he just keeps going.
Kids got to love that, right? So you're not doing this for every game. You're just doing it for your kids' games when you're working.
I'm doing it. Well, I'm doing it for any game that I have a kid in that's a home game. And actually Saturday night, I got drafted to we had a game and then we had a practice, and I was standing there waiting for my son to come out from practice, change from practice. And one of the other team managers said, "Hey, I'm missing 4 people and I don't have anybody to play music. Any chance you can help me out?" And it's a Saturday night. It's at like 6:00 and it's just me and my son there, my middle son. So I called Erica and I said, "Here's what's going on. Do you mind if I stay and do this?" She's like, "No, go ahead." So Gus got to watch a Bantam game and I called it, which was kind of
cool.
A lot of the kids those are first year Bantams. So there's a lot of kids that we played with last year. So it's neat to see them step, at the next level.
So I figured you'd be recruited. I mean, if you're doing that for that level, I mean, I would not be surprised you're going to get for Bantam, but I imagine at some point in time, the high school is going to be contacting to say, "Hey, you want to be doing some of our games too?" So that's pretty cool what you're doing though, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And once again, that's all volunteer. It's not like
all
you're
volunteer.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
It's I think the kids enjoy it, and they get to, if they score, they get to hear their names. I also make sure, I don't think you normally hockey announcers or PA announcers normally do this, but I will announce the shots, but I'll say like, Shaker had 5 shots against Mentor's John Smith, and Mentor had 4 shots against Shaker's Joe Blow.
Oh, that's nice.
Give the
Yeah,
goalie a little credit because the chances of the goalie getting his name called are slim and none.
right. Look
Yeah,
at you. Men for others.
that's
That's
it.
certainly you.
That's it.
Well, Ted, what we got going on today's show?
Well, we have John Ryan, who's here with another sports pick. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk a little more about the Browns with him. John Grabowski is here to talk about the Veterans Memorial Bridge. We've got all that, plus a used car salesman on a test drive that doesn't go as planned. That and more coming up.
And now, a woman's perspective.
What's the difference between a sofa and a man watching Monday Night Football? The sofa doesn't keep asking for beer.
This has been a woman's perspective.
Time for our history lesson with our professor, John Grabowski. John, a very interesting one. This is kind of selfish on my part.
Mhm.
I don't know much about this, so I'm just going to kind of sit back and listen. Tell us about the lower level of Veterans Memorial Bridge.
Well, I have to tell you about Veterans Memorial Bridge, but I'll tell you what the lower level was. It was for streetcars. And when the bridge was opened in 1917, streetcars were the form of urban transportation. So the upper deck was for the growing number of automobiles, but there were streetcars that used the lower deck. You can't find the entrances, but it was just a West 6th Street that the streetcars would dip down, go to the lower level, and then they would come out about West 25th Street. And there was just, you can still see the remnants of a streetcar station there on the other side. And it's been kind of common now for Ingenuity Fest or some other festivals to open that lower level to pedestrian traffic. Streetcars went goodbye in 1954. The last ones ran in 54. And once they emptied the streetcars were out, they closed those entrances off. And that's why it became kind of sort of a mystery for people what was down there. And it's kind of a great space really to go down because you have this view of the river and the flats below you. And of course, you've got the rumble of traffic over you. But the bridge itself, we go into the whole story of bridges if you want me to, but there's a Superior Avenue viaduct. And if you know that, there's part of it left on the west side. You can walk out over it. It was a lower level viaduct and it had a swing. It was built in the late 1870s and it had a swing span. So every time a ship came through it, it had to open. And by the early 1900s, that wasn't doing too well for either streetcar traffic or vehicular traffic because it was constantly opening or closing. So the Veterans Memorial Bridge, the Detroit Superior Bridge, if you want to call it its original name, took 8 years to build. And that you can notice has that high arch so the ships can get right under it. And it's a remarkable piece of engineering at that time. And yeah, and one of the things that really, at one point in the 1920s, there were 70,000 cars a day going over the bridge.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the statement is that was probably the busiest bridge in the United States. And in the 1960s, vehicular traffic was still so strong, despite the fact that you had other new bridges that had come in, the Main Avenue Bridge and the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge, that they added 2 more lanes, which are outside the arch. Mm-hmm. So those were cantilevered out. So those are additions to the original bridge.
Wow.
And it's been renamed the Veterans Memorial Bridge. It was the site of a very important event when Cleveland announced that there was going to be busing in the schools. Groups of people from the west side and the east side came together in Operation Bridge in the center of the bridge to advocate peaceful busing and integration of the schools. So that bridge, bridges are iconic in Cleveland. That's what links the west side to the east side. And the Innerbelt Bridge, which that the one that's goes out to the airport, it's the Voinovich Bridge. Now that's just been rebuilt, but when that was built in the 1950s as part of the interstate program, that was another bridge. So you can count the bridges, the Innerbelt Bridge, the the Hope Memorial Bridge, the Detroit Superior Bridge, and then the Main Avenue Bridge. Many ways to get across that valley.
Now, John, the lower level, they give tours of that periodically, and there's some old streetcars and such underneath there, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty fascinating thing when they open it up, right?
Yeah, the tracks are long gone, so the whatever accoutrements they have there will change over time. But for me, the best part of that is just simply the view, and I guess the solution to the mystery that Ken had. What was that lower level for? And I think the lower level is it's a special space because you have a cover over you, the roadway. It's almost like a covered bridge going down there, and it's a huge bridge. I love that arch. The arch had to be high to get the vehicular traffic over the ships that were coming through. Yeah.
John, are you surprised that no one's really taken on that spot since it's such a beautiful view and all that? Are you surprised that no one's taken over that spot and done anything with it above and beyond what it is now?
I'm a little surprised, but I think with the impetus that's going on in downtown, where downtown's going from a commercial district to a residential district, that like the Canal Basin Park and other areas that were sort of neglected history of Cleveland, it's going to become part, I think, of a normal routine. And whatever they're going to do with it, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. Could you build a street of shops there? Could it almost be like a bridge in Italy where you have the shops, on the edge of the bridge? If you're going to Florence, that's one of the favorite things, to go over the Great Bridge there and do some shopping while you're on your way over. I don't know. It would be a great place for little maker shops, people who do, custom made jewelry or other things rather than mass marketing. Fifth Street Arcade does a lot of that maker business now too. That's so yeah, I think it's
that's kind of what I was envisioning when you're talking about that. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and like the Hope Memorial Bridge, which is now a link to the booming West 25th Street area. And if you've been to West 25th and basically Lorraine, it's just totally changed. That stretches all the way down, and they're now going to do the Irishtown Bend Park.
Yep.
They've got clearance on that, so you're going to have that on the other side. And it all depends what they do with the flats on the east side. There are big plans for the flats now too. So yeah, I think we're going to see some major changes with that bridge.
Very exciting times.
Yeah. It's a cool place. It
really is. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. I could be bad saying the winter it's a cold place though.
Well, John, thank you so much for the information and a very interesting lesson, something I did not know much about. Thanks again for the information on the lower level of Veterans Memorial Bridge. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Ted out and about Northeast Ohio, drinking, eating, doing both at the same time, filling our stomachs, expanding. That's kind of where we're at. This is where I've expanded in the past week. I went to Planted Flag, Loggerheads, and also took in a wonderful restaurant. It's a chain, but I just enjoy it. They have obviously one in Rocky River, different areas. First Watch, met with a very good friend. Actually, I'm going to do some business with as well. So it was wonderful. And then I had the experience. I know this is a little bit out Northeast Ohio. And I know you've been there, the Canton Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
So they have all those different fields there. Actually, the young gentleman, the Cleveland kid, Colin Forgotch, I got to watch him play lacrosse for the first time, which was
really?
Yeah, it was very neat. He had a tournament out there, so I watched him and spent time with his family. It was really cool. I must say that facility out there, that's pretty wild. It's fields upon fields upon fields of artificial turf. But here's one thing, and I don't know if you knew this or not. They've kind of turned this into a little bit of an amusement park type of situation where they have like a Hall of Fame experience, and then they have like a souped up driving range. It's not Top Golf, it's something else. But then they have a Ferris wheel there. Do you know this? They have a Ferris wheel. Yes, they have a Ferris wheel. Do you know where that Ferris wheel came from.
It came from SeaWorld.
Great guess. It actually came from the IX Center.
Oh,
Yeah. How about that? I thought
that?
you'd like that. So it's pretty cool. I actually saw that somebody mentioned to it, and then I looked it up. But yeah, Chris Salata, who we had on our show a while back, is works for a company called ICP. They're the ones that bought the IX Center, and then
Yep.
instead of just taking it apart, they didn't want it. They actually sold it to the Hall of Fame. So it was very cool. I had a great day. It was, once again, we talk about the weather at the beginning of the show. It's the weather that day was just phenomenal. So, so that's my out and about. Besides, right now we're kind of in a lull with all the all the stuff that the kids have been doing. Riley's finished with cross country. Maddie is right now in dance. And so we don't have much going on. So I've had a lull. So it's actually been kind of nice. The car's been thanking me as well.
The cars
been able to rest a little bit to get ready for the winter. But sir, I hand the baton to you. I'm expecting some big things here. I know we're back into hockey.
Oh yeah.
Do we have any concession stand?
Well, first let me point out what a small world it is. Chris Salata.
Yes.
My youngest son's soccer coach.
Oh, come on. Seriously?
Him and his wife. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
How about that?
That's awesome. They're such nice people.
Yep. And how did two people that tall find each other, by the way?
They are tall. Yeah.
He's got to be 6'4", and you would expect him to marry some girl who's like 5'1" tops. And no,
right.
She's what, 6'1", 6'1", maybe?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Anyhow, let's see. Well, the Parma concession stand, we were at the Parma rink Friday night. Parma concession stand closed when we went to get hot chocolate, but then it reopened.
Oh, okay.
So we were
a shift change. That's a shift change.
Apparently it was. It closed for like 10 minutes. My wife was upset, and then she saw somebody got hot chocolate. She's like, oh, maybe it's open again. So it's good hot chocolate until I spilled it on my pants, but that's what are you going to do? So we got that. We had the skate-a-thon. I can't remember if that was, we did that, talked about that. I can't remember if that was before or after our last show, but we got a lot of baked goods and such that we had there. Where else have we played? Well, we played at Gilmore. They don't have a concession stand. They have vending machines, or at least.
Oh, that makes it easier. Yeah. Well, are you talking about vending? We're talking about, can you get a hot drink out of their vending machine? Can they make you a coffee or hot chocolate out of there? Is it that sophisticated, or is it just cold drinks and snacks? I didn't look.
It wasn't cool enough for a hot cocoa, but So we got that, and then at our place we can get hot cocoa out of the machine. We also, at our place, they just fixed we have the claw that gets the plastic balls out.
Oh, God.
They just fixed that. And I told the guy I have bought stock in those plastic balls because of the number of balls that my kids have. They go around to all the vending machines in the ice rink, and they get quarters like this one that I'm holding up right now that's dirty as can be.
Yeah.
And then they put them in the claw and they get balls out of the claw.
Really?
Yeah, and then they play with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
I love it.
We got a basketball stuck up above a portion of the rink that they had to climb up and get down. That went over like a fart in church, but that's, what are you going to do? So yeah, well, this was interesting. Now, one of the teams that one of my sons is on, let me see if I can get the menu here. They got their first win. And there was one family who, this is their first year in hockey. So they decided that they were going to have a party for the first win.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it wasn't just any party. They had afternoon tea.
Love it.
So here's the menu. This is for 10, 9, 10, 11-year-olds.
Okay.
The beverages were apple cider and lemonade. And then we have top tier, middle tier, and bottom tier.
Oh, wow.
Top tier was flourless chocolate cake. I don't know of many kids that are going to know what the difference is between regular cake and flourless cake, but nonetheless, that's what was available, along with lemon mini cupcake with blueberry frosting, a sugar cookie, or a selection of fresh fruit. I'm going to go to the bottom tier here momentarily. We had pigs in a blanket, PB&J, a pulled pork slider, and then a cucumber sandwich was also available.
Oh,
I'm told that there were plenty of cucumber sandwiches for leftover use following the event.
oh, okay.
Rise.
All right.
And then on the middle tier, scone with clotted cream, jam, and lemon curd.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is really sophisticated, man. I
Yeah.
think that's cool.
So
I would have went to that.
yeah,
It'd probably be awkward because I'd be the oldest person there, but I would have went.
So that's
cool.
out and about, and kids had fun, and then they won another game this past weekend, prompting my oldest son to say, "Where's the party at this week?"
Oh, it's got to be your house then.
Not
You're
a
gonna have
chance.
to have a tea party.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Fair enough. Well, Ted, way to be out and about, taking in all those ice rinks, getting some vending, and participating in a tea party. I think that's great. And you too, ladies and gentlemen at home, please consider helping out your restaurants, your bars. They need your money. We're out and about, and we're having a great time. Ted, we have some good news in Pennsylvania. The
Okay.
kindergarten is having twice the fun this year. The kindergarten in Colonel School District, northwest of Philadelphia, has 17 sets of twins in their class this year. 17 sets of twins. The class has been dubbed Twin de Garden. I think that's hilarious. And a mom of one set of twins is even a twin herself. That's insane.
That
That's a lot of twins, man.
that's
Do
they're
you know any twins, by the way?
yeah, we got a set on one of our hockey teams.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know a couple, but not a ton. I was trying to think if I went to school with any. I don't think so. I know there wasn't any in at Ashland, but I don't know that many. I really
Yeah.
don't. So look how rare that is. How very rare that is. 17 sets of twins. That's insane in the same class. Wow. It's time for our favorite sports handicapper, the official handicapper of two middle-aged men in Cleveland, John Ryan from Predictive Playbook. John, very interesting season so far. The weekend was very interesting, but I first of all want to talk about your game from Monday. I don't think anybody, and I mean anybody, really expected the Denver Broncos to win the game outright, but you had a selection of taking the Denver Broncos plus the 6.5 points.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Ken. It was a pretty good weekend. I guess it was 2 weeks ago we really hit the skids, and that happens every season. There's always that 1 or 2 weeks that is dreadful, and it makes it look like I don't know anything about anything having to do with sports handicapping, and it's it keeps you humble. It really does, and it just goes to show how hard contests. Picking 5 picks these weeks with all the bye games limits the sample size that you can pick from. And you're really picking some ugly games to get those 5 picks in. But I think we went 4-1, I guess, or 5-1 over the weekend. So that is very good. And, the Denver game didn't make any sense. Logically, it was like, why is this not 9.5? Buffalo needs this win desperately. Another loss and Denver's season's all but over. And now we almost have the reverse. So in those contrarian situations, anybody that has good sound logic is going to struggle with taking those road dogs, especially in prime time. But another interesting thing is the under hit again in prime time. So now we're above 80% for the season in prime time games betting the under. And I will caution people to resist the temptation to just simply bet the over in these primetime games. You still have to be selective. The primetime games may go 50-50 over the remainder of the season. That's going to take that 83% under rate right now and reduce it to maybe 57 or 56, more in line with some of the anomalies that we've had in previous seasons where the under has done remarkably well. So I just would be careful to think that overs are going to now dominate the rest of the seasons. I don't think that's going to happen.
John, I know Ted might have a follow-up question, but I like to do some research. I know this is more surprising for Ted than anyone else. I learned today that the under in NFL games this year is 88-60. That is just flooring with all the way that the game has changed with passing, and obviously the most important players now used to be running backs, now it's receivers. Is that surprising to you, John? I mean, that to me is unbelievable.
It absolutely is. For those that are interested, you can go to RotoWire and find an article I wrote last week about the fact that 60% of the games have played under. The total, just like in the marketplace on Wall Street, the news comes out negative on Apple, the stock is going to adjust its price accordingly to reflect that news. The same thing in sports betting circles. So we started out basically at 44.5 average total in week one. We're now down to an average total of about 42 and possibly a little bit lower going into this week. So the market has adjusted. Now, the probability is that maybe the over does do a little bit better over the remaining games because the market has now overreacted and you're getting overs on a cheap level in some of these games, but you still have to be very selective. You just can't, we had that 10-unit bet on Sunday with the over in Dallas. Okay, that was pretty scary to me because the other team was called the New York Giants, who are averaging about, 10 points a game at best. And the way it started out, the defense holds them on a 4th and goal. And I'm thinking, oh man, this was the wrong time to bet the over. But then, it all comes quite easily when Dallas just started railroading them. But you still have to be careful. And that's the theme here. I would highly recommend. I had one client ask me if they should bet the over in every game this past weekend. Okay, well, that would have won, actually. That would have gone 8-5. But still, do you really want to risk that on a, what I call a rubber band trade? Because the rubber band now has stretched so far with the under, it's due to snap back. Well, nothing is due to happen in sports betting or in the markets on Wall Street. Nothing is guaranteed or due to happen just because of an extreme streak.
So, John, let's talk about the big game here in Cleveland, maybe one of the bigger games in the NFL. Cleveland comes off a big win in Baltimore, and now they host the Steelers, getting away from the X's and O's. Just talking about this from a betting standpoint, are there any aspects of this game that look particularly promising?
Well, I think this is, Cleveland winning that game this past Sunday in the way they did. And by the way, there was 5 games this past weekend that were won on basically the final play of the game. That's an all-time record. The previous record was 3. Cleveland was one of those games. We saw it last night where, inexplicably, the Buffalo defense just kind of crashed and burned. Same thing can be said of the Cleveland victory, too. They went out there and earned it. But we just got talking about how the under is so overly sold in the marketplace. But in this game, I think it warrants an under bet. So this is where you have to separate yourself from the existing trend of 60% unders and realize that this is a divisional matchup of teams that have historically beaten the daylights out of each other on the football field. And now both of them are 6-3 going into this game. So it is a monumental game for the rest of the season, even though there's still 8 games to go. Divisional matchup. Pittsburgh has been out-yarded in all but 1 game this year, yet they're 6-3. So they're finding ways to win, almost similar to the way the Eagles are finding ways to win. And sooner or later, that has to end, at least for the Steelers, I think. Here we have a total that's 37, and it's very tough to bet an under at 37. Psychologically, you just go like, my God, is Iowa playing in this game? Why is this so low? And all due respect to Iowa, they have a great defense, as we saw against Rutgers. But when you have a college football team with a total of 28.5, there's something wrong somewhere. A lot of these ranked teams can put up 28.25. But back to the football there. Sorry for the digression, but I think Cleveland's going to take this game. They have a ton of momentum going into this matchup. Pittsburgh, they're 6-3, but do they really know who they are? That's the question. If I'm on that team, I'm in the locker room. Yeah, we're doing great here, but I think you have to start questioning yourself, getting outplayed, but you're winning, and when that's going to end. And I just think that this line is already up to 4. It's probably going to go to 4.5 over the course of the week. It could go higher. I definitely don't think it's going to go lower because the public is going to bet Cleveland based on recency bias. So we have to be careful there. As of right now, Cleveland looks very attractive to me at -4. But say we do get 75% of the public on Cleveland, I may back off of it just a tad. So like putting 50% of your normal bet now on Cleveland and see how the market goes, and then adjust accordingly. The market's going to tell you whether you're supposed to add or just be happy with your 50% bet. There is an under bet here with a system here. I'll read it to you. You're going to bet under with any team against a total that is outscoring their opponents by 3 to 7 points per game. And 3 to 7 is not arbitrary. As we know, most games end with a 3, 4, 6, or 7 point differential. So that encompasses 4 of the big numbers that we see in the NFL. That team is facing an average team that has a plus or minus 3 points per game differential. And with the game occurring after the 8th week of the regular season, and after playing a game where 50 or more total points were scored, which were easily scored in the Cleveland win this past Sunday. In fact, I think that was the highest scoring game of the week. If not, it was Dallas and the Giants. But nevertheless, those parameters have gone 32, 8, and 1 over the last 5 years to the under, and that's 79% winners over the last 5 seasons. So, that is a pretty strong system, in my opinion. It's never had a losing season making money. So if you write that down and simply follow it, for those that are listening, just track it and, put pizza money on it to start until you get the feel of it. And then, maybe increase your bet size next year.
Yeah, no doubt, John. Now, part of this, so let's say I'm interested in taking the Cleveland Browns against Pittsburgh, and I jump into that game -4. I wanted to kind of dip into live betting here, John. So I'm watching the game, and let's say Pittsburgh scores a touchdown early in the contest. Can you give our listeners at home an idea of maybe a strategy that one should have if they're going to do live betting?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great question, Ken, and it's one of my favorite topics to speak about. There are times, and you've seen it in my research reports that go out to the clients, that it may not make sense when you first read it, because I'm saying that bet 50% pre-flop, meaning before the kickoff, and then we're hoping that the other team scores first. Why in the world would you ever want the other team to score first, right? But there are lead changes in the NFL, and we're seeing quite a few of them. Kansas City is the team that has the most lead changes of any team in the NFL this season. In fact, the past 3 seasons. And there's games that the team that scores first is not the team that's going to win the game. So if we know from our analytics that there's say on a money line bet, there's an 80% probability that Cleveland's going to win the game, and it's based on the numbers and the model, then you stick with that. And even if it gets to be 10-0 Pittsburgh, that's the optimal time to jump in. It's like buying Apple Computer after a 40-point drop in the stock during the course of a month, say, and it's scary. It's like, oh my God, why do I want to buy this stock? Well, the story is still the same, right? That we still think that Cleveland is going to win this game. And a lot of times these plays, as you've seen, both of you have seen some of my picks, they don't start out well. Watch an NBA game this season, and in fact, the last 5 seasons when scoring started to increase, you're going to have both teams scoring 10 unanswered points in a high number of these games. So watch what happens to the live betting line. You don't even have to bet it, just track it. And after a run of say 10 points, like any NBA team, there's usually a timeout. They go to commercials, gives you plenty of time to look at the live in-game bet, and you bet the other team. So you fade that scoring trend, and you do the same thing throughout the whole game. You create what is potentially a massive middle that could be as wide as 15 points. And it's like an option in option markets where you have 7 days to expiration. You got to be right, and probably right in a big way just to break even or make money. And the same thing in the live betting. There's no opportunity in the second half to be consistently right by using the live in game. So I hope that all made sense.
Oh, certainly. And obviously for listeners at home, your recommendation, John, if you're going to do live betting, you do it in the first half. You don't try to catch something in the second half or anything like that, for obviously for whatever sport you're talking about, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. Hey, John, let's talk about the predictive playbook play of the week here.
Okay, let me pull that up here. This is, I believe it's the last game on the card on Sunday, and this was something that came up on my database, which is a massive one, as you guys know. This betting system has gone 25-5 with one push. That's 83.3% winners since 1989. So it's pretty rare. It happens, once in a blue moon, so to speak. It's never had back-to-back losses in the system. That doesn't mean it can't happen. We're in a situation here where it is coming off a loss. The last time this qualified, it lost. Okay, so we have an opportunity here to really play a solid betting system. But again, it's not, you can't think of this as like, oh my God, 83% winners since 1989. I mean, this is going to lose. Well, someday it's going to have 6 losses. Someday it's going to have 7. We don't know what day that's going to be. So you would just bet this with the same discipline you would on a betting system that is hitting 60% winners, because there's a reason why. So anyway, we're going to bet on teams like the Denver Broncos, who are running hot right now, with a win percentage of less than 50% from week 9 on out. And they're facing an opponent like the Minnesota Vikings that are coming off a home win as a dog, which means they were favored. They were expected to lose the game at home, but they didn't. They pulled off the upset, and their win percentage is above 50%, but less than 60%. So that is the system. That set of parameters has done extraordinarily well. It's 18-13 straight up. So you can tell that most of the time this system is on dogs, but very small dogs, plus 4.5 and less. So yeah, the last time this system hit was actually, we have to go back to 2021. So there was no qualifying play last year, but that was the last time this hit. Before that, it won 5 in a row, then it lost, and before that, 6 in a row. So it's 11-2 since 2012. So on average, it happens about once a year. So that doesn't mean it's a game of the year, because you guys know I hate that terminology. It's just, it's hype. It's not necessary. We have a great betting opportunity here, and that's what it is.
Fair enough. So in this contest, John, we are taking the Broncos over Minnesota, and we're going against the points, correct?
Yep, -2.5. The total's 43. And if, again, it sounds crazy to say, but we want the Vikings to score first. If you like the live in-game betting, then bet 50% or 60%, 70% pre-flop, and then use the remaining amount at that point where Minnesota goes up 7-0. It has to be 7-0. If it's just 3-0, you're not going to get much of a movement from what you originally had, because you're in the first or second quarter. But if they do score first and it's impressive, that line could easily be Broncos plus 2.5 at 7-0 in the first quarter. So that is what I would look for. And here again, I expect the Broncos to win this game outright. So any dog bet live in-game during the first half is looking quite good as we talk here on Tuesday.
John, so much information. We really appreciate the time. If people want to find out more about you or interested in picking up, your handicapping skills and purchasing a package, where would they go to do that?
ThePredictivePlaybook.com, or you can send me a direct message at on the X formerly known as Twitter, at John Ryan Sports and the number 1. My email is johnryansports@gmail.com or john.ryan@predictiveplaybook.com. And that's the best way to get a hold of me. I usually get back within, pretty quickly. Game days, it's longer than I would like, but there's just a lot of people pouring in. NBA is off to a great start, 11-5 against the spread. We're 5-2 in college hoops, went 2-0 last night. Loved that Florida International game against Miami. That was something to behold.
Oh, yes.
But as I always use that saying, some days you're the dog and some days you're the fire hydrant, and there's 1,000 dogs in the neighborhood, and it happens to everybody. But most importantly, what I like to say is to bet with your head and not over it, and that's the most important thing I can get across to people. And if I get across to one that doesn't bet over their head, that we're successful.
John, appreciate the time. As always, your knowledge on betting and betting safely, and we really enjoy that, and we're looking forward to the games, and we're hoping for another win from the Cleveland Browns, as they've been playing very well here the past couple of weeks. So, John, thanks again. We look forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks and getting some more picks.
You got it. Thanks very much for having me.
Ken, an overachiever, not you, not
Nope.
me. No, this is an Idaho man. He already has more than 250 Guinness World Record titles. He teamed up with a duo of amazing race contestants to break the record for putting chopsticks into a beard in 1 minute.
wait.
Let me say that again. I don't
Please.
know that we hear those words in that order too often. Broke the record for putting chopsticks into a beard in 1 minute.
Okay.
All right. Joel Strasser already holds records for most toothpicks in a beard, most baubles in a beard, and most straws in a beard. And now Garrett Smith and David Rush have helped him, and they shoved 104 chopsticks into his beard, making that a world record.
I mean, we could not even participate in that. I don't have a beard, neither do you.
No.
250.
250 records.
Wow. Just shoving stuff in your beard.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder how many different things they have. I mean, besides what we have, I guess we got to look this up.
It could.
Lollipops.
Yeah.
Pens. Straws.
Yeah. Wonder.
I'll be honest. We've had a lot of these. This is one of the oddest ones we've had. This is strange.
What about PVC? Get some PVC pipe and shove that in there? Maybe.
I guess
See how
you
that
could.
goes? Yeah.
What if you don't find it all?
Well,
I mean, obviously you got to have a pretty bushy beard to be doing this type of stuff.
yeah.
It's not a, you don't have a Fu Manchu or anything like that. I mean,
No.
you're talking ZZ Top stuff here.
This is high level beard growing.
Oh,
I have to get that guy on from that guy the shaving guy. We should bring him back.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Talk about,
Yeah. We can talk about that.
Grooming your beard for world record attempts.
Yeah.
Well, either way, Joel Strasser has the beard and the world record, and now he's an overachiever.
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Clips.
Ken, we're going to start in Arizona. A high school teacher in Mesa suspended for a Halloween costume that offended some students. Shocker. The unidentified teacher greeted students wearing devil horns and carrying a pitchfork. Each student entered the class, and the teacher reportedly waved the pitchfork over their head and said, "Hail Satan."
That seems like a really good idea.
Yeah, part of the problem is that the teacher continued doing this even after some students asked the teacher to stop.
Okay.
So, suspension.
Hail
Satan.
Satan.
Hail Satan. You're suspended. Okay. Staying in the Southwest, this is from New Mexico. A used car salesman in Albuquerque took a customer's car for a test drive to assess it and got arrested. The salesman was clocked doing 103 miles an hour in a 45. He tried to apologize, saying he was making sure the Ford Mustang was a solid machine. The officer didn't buy it and told the guy he was old enough to know better.
I want to make sure it's a solid machine.
Solid
I'm going to
machine.
get this baby up. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like going down the middle of St. Clair Avenue and just cranking that thing up to go 100 to see if
Yeah.
it's running. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a solid machine, man.
Solid machine. Yeah.
Wow.
Because you need solid machine is determined by speeds you should never travel
yeah.
anywhere in the country.
100%.
Well, Taylor Swift is a very well-known celebrity, as we know, but saying her name in one home in Bethesda, Maryland is going to cost you. Father Dan Rice, Dad Dan Rice, not a priest, but
He's
a
not
dad.
priest. Okay.
He's had enough of the Swift, of Taylor Swift and the whole Eras tour. He can't take it anymore, so he created a Taylor Swift jar. The jar has a label that says Taylor Swift jar. Any mention of T Swift and you owe a quarter. I can't take it anymore. Travis Kelce included. So every time mom or his daughter mention Taylor Swift, cha-ching,
I like it.
a quarter.
It's a good idea. I think we're all tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a local guy. I mean, let's be honest. I'm super happy. He's gotten a lot of exposure. He's playing really well, too, but we've all had enough. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just too much.
Well, to be fair, it's not his fault that the TV's
No, absolutely
plastering
not.
that all over.
No, and it's so funny at the games now is they've been on bye this week. You can guarantee when they have their game on this week, it'll be Taylor Swift. I mean, we'll find out where she's at.
They should have a graphic in the corner of the screen, Swift Cam or something like that.
Oh, yeah, you know what? If they had that as a live thing where you could just watch the Swift
Just
cam,
watch
I
the
bet you
Swift
millions of people would watch that.
Oh, yeah. Just
Millions.
stream that.
Yep.
Yeah. Taylor Swift ought to do that. She could put that on Patreon or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sports, some scores, 101 to 92, 93 78, and 89 to 84.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm Ted Klopp. That's news to me.
Oh no, not a dad joke.
I don't trust trees.
You don't trust trees. Why is that?
They seem kind of shady.
That joke was horrible.
Ken, we're coming to the end of episode 125. I have an idea for us.
I'm ready.
I think we need to double up and go on Cameo together and start doing greetings.
Oh, Cameo.
Cameo.
I've done that a couple times. I've purchased it for other people. It's very fun. I think the two that I did, it was Josh Cribbs.
Yeah.
And then the old coach for the Cleveland Browns.
Which coach?
Hugh Jackson. It was pretty cool.
Now,
I'm not going to say what I told him to say. Yeah, you're familiar with Cameo, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You basically write them a note and tell the person what's going on or what you want them to talk about. And
yeah,
for the person that I sent it to, it had to do with some dysfunction. We'll just leave it at that.
Dysfunction. Yeah.
So,
Was he? Did he mention the dysfunction?
He sort of mentioned the dysfunction, but the Cameo itself was kind of weird because it was literally he took his phone and put it about as close as he could to his face, and all you literally saw was his head and nostrils. It was really odd. I need to find that and send it to you.
How long after he got fired was he on Cameo?
This was months after. So I would say 5 to 6 months after.
Well, you got to cash in on that quick, you know.
Yeah. Josh Cribbs was pretty solid, as you can imagine. I had him on as well.
Well, there's some interesting folks on there.
So you think we should jump on this?
Oh, absolutely. We could charge at least $5.
Oh my God. I think that we would be overcharging. I know Kenny Rhoda's on there. I'm trying to think of some of the other local people. I don't know if Tony Rizzo is not or not, but yeah, Kenny Rhoda, who was on our show, he's on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Whatever.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah.
Second source of income.
I like that. Hey, I got a quick hockey story.
Okay.
So my oldest son, who plays goalie, has been playing really well the last couple games, like lights out.
Awesome.
So he and another goalie split the games half and half. So they play at Parma on Friday, and the other goalie goes the first period, and we didn't play much defense. So not
You like the Cavs. You just don't play. You like the Cavs. You don't play defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that. So it wasn't the other goalie's fault, but he gave up 4 goals in the first period.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So my son comes in, shuts him out
Wow.
for a period and a half.
Wow.
We climb back in the game. We won the game 6-5.
Oh my gosh.
So he gets the game puck. He's all excited. Sunday morning, we had our next game. And there was a kid who was not at the game on Friday. And he's like, how did it go? Well, apparently my son piped up and said, well, I won the game for us.
Oh, shit.
And I was told this by the other goalie dad, and we both
Oh, boy.
shook our head, and I said, well, it's hard to be humble when you're great. So
That's good for him, man. Building confidence and all that. That's great.
yeah, well, we were driving to the goalie clinic last night, and I started to talk to him about working harder in practice, and he said, I'm the best goalie. And I said, even the best goalie needs to work hard. And then
There
he
you
did.
go.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, good for him. Looking forward to more of those stories as we move forward. Just God knows the hockey season lasts quite a long time.
forever.
So, yes.
Now, I heard that you have something that you want to get off your chest.
I do. So we're in the season now where people are starting to buy more items because Christmas is right around the corner. By the way, this is, obviously we're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving here soon, and that should be done first and foremost. But obviously there's a site that people go to where they bring the items to you. So I've been purchasing a couple items just for some home stuff and all that. And obviously at times you have returns, which they make it super easy for you to do this. You don't even have to pack it yourself anymore. You just can go to a department store, the UPS store, or whatever. And I'm not going to mention where I went. It wasn't their fault, but I'll explain an experience. So I go to this store. I have the item I'm ready to return. I'm holding the item in my hand, and they're going to pack it for me. And then I have a barcode on my phone ready to go so that as soon as I'm there, they scan the barcode, I give them the item, they give me the thing, I'm gone. It's like a 1 minute to 2 minute transaction.
Right.
There was a person in front of me who was returning multiple items. That's fine. They were not organized, and they couldn't find the email with their QR code on there. I, along with the 15 other people in line, waited for this individual person for nearly 20 minutes.
Oh.
And I wanted to tell the person, if you're not ready, step aside and let others go. Word of the wise, if you're returning stuff, just be ready.
Yeah.
Get your stuff together. If you don't have it, more than likely someone will let you step aside, and once you are, they'll let you get back in the line. But as we move towards the holidays, and there's going to be a ton of returns, and at this particular store, not only was the return area very crowded, if you were going to buy anything at the checkout, you were going to wait at least a half an hour. It was utterly ridiculous. So my rant of the day is just be ready.
Be prepared.
Be prepared and be conscious of other people around you and know that they don't want to sit there and take up the time waiting for you to find things on your phone.
Well, that let's be honest, that goes for so many different things in life, whether you're returning something, you're buying something, and you know you're going to need money, and it's not until you're ready to go, and then you start looking for your credit card, or you're ordering food at a fast food place, and you get to the front of the line and that's when you start looking at the menu? No,
Yeah.
no,
Yep.
not acceptable.
No, I don't know. It was frustrating. We'll leave it at that. And I was there during my lunch time, and I only had a certain amount of time to be there, and I wasted most of my time waiting in line for this person. So imagine the people behind me were also feeling the same way. As I turned around and looked, and it looked like the gentleman behind me was ready to just jump out and pull this woman to the side. So just be courteous and kind to everybody and make sure that you're not taking up other people's time. So
your frustration duly warranted.
Ted, Thanksgiving's here. Let's talk about it. What do you guys got going for Thanksgiving?
I have no idea.
Well, that's probably the best answer. It's a surprise.
We usually go to my brother-in-law's house, but they are going to his wife's parents in Michigan, so they're not going to be around. So I don't know what we're going to do. I actually asked my wife last night as we were sitting there watching TV. I was like, so what are we doing for Thanksgiving? I have no idea. Okay.
All right. Well, you got some time. You got about a week. So
buy a turkey. We can go to a movie. We'll be all set.
Yep. Great stuff.
What about you?
Spending time with the kids, family, all that stuff. Looking forward to that. I also will be taking in, not for Thanksgiving, but for this weekend coming up. It's a very big weekend in the city of Medina where they have the Light Festival, where they light the Christmas tree and they have a parade and they have Santa. I will be taking in all those festivities as I am working with my fine friends at Cool Beans Cafe. It's a big weekend. I actually put some time in yesterday, late in the evening, where we decorated the shop. And I must tell you, if you can follow them on Facebook, it's pretty cool. The theme is the Grinch, where they have a large throne where you can sit there. They're going to have the Grinch there at some point in time. It reminds me of a lot of these bars that you see around Cleveland that's like decorated with Christmas stuff. It becomes a Christmas bar. That's kind of what they've done for the coffee shop. It's pretty cool. So I will be working. I'll be logging some good hours this weekend, Ted. I got Friday night, I got Saturday, and then I got Sunday. So we'll be rocking it out, selling some different merchandise. So I'm actually pretty excited about that. Weather's supposed to be good. I think it's supposed to rain Friday, but the rest of the time should be good. So if you have the chance to come on down to Medina, please do. It's very cool. The whole square is lit up. They have a parade and just a lot of fun. So highly recommend that.
If is Friday night a big coffee night in Medina?
Every night's a big coffee night. Every night. I have worked there now for close to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I will say that anytime I've ever worked, which usually is evenings, obviously, because I'm working, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Lattes and mocha. I mean, it is unbelievable. Last night, the store closed a little bit early just because to do some decorating and people were still trying to come in. I mean, it's just like, how could you be closed? It's very interesting, but no, it's super busy. And for that event, oh gosh, it'll be packed. People will be lined up out the door, which is just unbelievable. So should be fun.
How many autographs have you signed?
Not one yet. Only when I signed
Let's work on that, people. Come on. Cool Beans Cafe, Medina. Ken Dworsnik of Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland fame will be available for autographs, selfies. He might even do a cameo for you at no charge.
I could do a cameo. I'll just grab your phone and just, record the video for you right there.
Who knows what he'll talk about?
I have no idea what I'll talk about. Maybe I'll talk about, having struggles at department stores.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah. Do that.
So. Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, Ted, thanks for the show. Thanks for all your efforts. Thanks to John Ryan talking about sports betting. Don't forget to, if you're going to place a bet this week, you're going to take the Denver Broncos minus the 2.5 points against the Minnesota Vikings. Also, John Grabowski, who was talking about the Veterans Memorial Bridge. Thanks for doing that. And then, of course, you folks for listening. I hope everyone has a safe and healthy Thanksgiving if you're traveling anywhere, and we look forward to talking to you in a couple weeks. Until that time, Please don't forget, we're just two middle-aged men in Cleveland.
Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Westminster AV, custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.